Got it. Well, hello again, everybody. Welcome to Solutions with Aquarius Rising Africa. And look who I have with me today, the beautiful BRICE. How are you, lovely?
I'm so good. I'm so happy to be. It's always a good day when I get to see you, Shanti. So I'm so happy to be here.
I feel the same way. Don't you worry about a thing. It's just wonderful to see you and to have you on here again. But I want to just tell our viewers, please, we've had a power outage the whole day today since 9 o'clock. My laptop and my battery power is on the last. So if I happen to just disappear, I'm going to ask you, beautiful BRICE, just to do what you need to do from your side. I don't know. Maybe I think what I should do is make you a co-host, just so.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay.
I'm going to make you a co-host.
Well, I'll probably panic call Mornay. No, I'm just kidding.
And then you'll be able to end. You'll be able to end.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
And you can just say your say.
The show must go on, right? And we keep going.
Yeah. Oh, goodness. It's so good to have you all here with us, joining us again, everybody, with our beautiful BRICE on our Wellness Wednesdays here. And we are going to talk about the chakras. And we're not going to go through them all today. So we might go through 2 or 3. And then we will continue in our next episode around this. But wow, the chakras are so important. And I want to just reiterate as well. Anyone who thinks chakras are evil or whatever, I implore you, think again. Chakras are part of your body makeup. You are energy. Everything in this world is energy. It is the makeup of your body. It is how your body functions. And when you understand how the chakras function, and you can understand how the illnesses and ailments in your bodies function, you can see from which invisible place they're coming from, or whatever ailments are in your body are coming from, and then you can actually rectify it yourself. I actually, we on our Monday Australia interview we had with a lady, and for the first time ever, I heard someone, and she's also older school, MK Ultra, part of the Tavistock program. I mean, that horrible stuff. So, and she was, for the first time ever, I heard someone speak about that with the chakras. And what she said was they took all the chakras and they inverted them. And I nearly kissed her when she said that, because we have to understand that God has created everything. God has created these beautiful bodies. Yes. Now, what the Luciferians or the Lucies have done, they've understood how these bodies work. So they've understood the chakra system. Now, they will tell you chakras are evil because that is part of your being hoodwinked. Yeah. Anything that is not the same as you is supposedly evil. And that is the biggest hoodwink of our time. They cannot create anything. What they've done is they've taken God's creation, and we've said this so often, and inverted it and turned it into something that it's not, or in its polar opposite. Yeah. Think about giving a child a hiding. I mean, this is one of the other Australians spoke about this the other day. A father will take a child, put it over the lap, and smack the bum. Root chakra. Yeah. That is root chakra breaking and shattering right there. And the very same lap that he smacks you on, he now turns you around on, and you sit and get cuddled on. I mean, isn't that just the most macabre, horrible way of shattering a child's root chakra, or muladhara? In Sanskrit, it's called muladhara. So I've just said that. I just wanted to say that for our guests as well. And BRICE, I'm going to give you some airtime now as well, since you're the guest.
I'm I really, I'm out of all the people in the world, you're the one I want to talk about this with, because, and I saw, there has to be, I think too, we have to understand so many people are so focused right now on getting that 6th chakra or 7th chakra open that they're ignoring the base chakra. and it gets into like delirium and delusion. It's like, no, we got to pull the energy down,
Sure.
because that root chakra, it's got to be the base.
The root chakra, it's the rock on which the rest of the other chakras rest. And if the rock, the root, it's your foundation, if that is shattered, nothing else is going to work properly. Now, I've had so many people come to me and say, can you activate my third eye? And I'm like, no, but you can. You see, so the reason why people want that is because they think that gives them their psychic abilities or whatever. And that's not, yes, there are people who have that. But and often you're going to find psychics or mediums or people like that who have that, and they have the ability to visualize. But my question is, look at the state of the rest of their lives.
Yes.
Look at their relationships, look at their health, look at their financial well-being or whatever. Now, all of these things are indicative of how you take care of yourself in this life. And it doesn't mean that people who have financial issues or whatever are any less than. No, I'm not saying that. But I'm saying that when you build on the root, the base, and when that, because that's exactly what it says, the root, Muladhara, it's like the roots of the tree, rooting you into the earth, and then drawing on your support system, which is the water, the nourishment, the food, the nutrition, whatever it is. And that then feeds you, that is the tree, right? Yeah. And you're either going to be blooming and beautiful at the end of it all and ready to offer your fruit to the world, or you're going to be there straggly and bad and having all sorts of tree diseases and all sorts of things eating.
Yeah.
Think about that. The root is the most important. If you want to have an active third eye, your root has to be active. Exactly.
Well, I'll say too, like, this is in my own practice, long before YouTube, this has been one of the biggest areas for me to work, has been the base of the chakra system. And because it is, that first, and just to kind of make a long story short, when you're born, your chakras go through phases of development, just like you do as a child. And the root one, a lot of those issues do come back to childhood of that security, of having that foundation. And we even have, which we focus more on in Ashtanga, we have a lock there as well called Mula Bandha. So the chakra is Muladhara, that little, like, I see it as like a spinning disc of energy, and the color is red. Right? That red spinning disc. And then there's this like lock underneath it that is Mula Bandha that locks it in. And I tell my students, like in India, and Shanti, you can probably imagine this, in India, they will check your Mula Bandha to make sure it's locked. They check your Mula Bandha by sticking their hands in between your legs to make sure it's locked. And oddly, it's not weird in India at all. It's not, it's just normal. It's not weird. But I don't do that here in the United States. But when I tell my students, when I'm looking for that lock to be able to consciously hold that energy, I actually look at your big toe when you're practicing, because the big toe, if it's pressed into the mat, pressed into the floor, the energies, if you imagine this is my leg, the energies in running up the inner leg, like that root, into the perineum, which is locking that perineum, that bandha. And I always tell my students, I don't really care about your toe, but I'm looking to see if there's an activation, because that is the root. It's like the tentacles of that lock. And for people who have ever done sports like gymnastics or dance, the only way for you to like go upside down into a handstand is to have that locked. That's that lock. Absolutely. And that they work together. So Muladhara, Mula Bandha work together. But this and like the second chakra as well are really, really hard, especially a lot of times for women, because we've been shamed about that area of our body, where that is. We look at these practices that the Lucy's do, right? With their children very young. That's breaking that security.
Absolutely.
And there's, it's you're right. I'm so glad you brought, because I've said that all the time, like the darkness can't create anything, only the light can. And so everything we see is bad has been manipulated by the powers that be. They know all this. They know this better than we do. Bet your bottom dollar, they know this better than we do, and they're using it against us. And for the people who are Christians out there in the Old Testament, there's Jacob's ladder. What is Jacob's ladder? It's your chakra system. It's in the Bible.
It's very, very true that, right? That is amazing, actually, what you're saying there. I never thought about that. Jacob's ladder being your chakra system, but absolutely it is, definitely. But let's go through what the chakras are and just give, and maybe we just talk about the first 2 or 3 today, because I like to do things in bite-sized chunks so that guys
absolutely
understand it. So the root chakra, which is the first chakra. Well, firstly, let's talk just about the chakras. You can imagine a flower, okay, which is a long stem, and that would be your spine, okay? Mm-hmm. And there are spinning wheels or spinning flowers on the stem. So the root chakra would be at the tip of your coccyx, the base, and it points downwards. Yep. So that would be how it roots into the earth, into your security. So the rest of the chakras are like spinning vortices. So in other words, the faster they spin and the more happily they're spinning, they clear your environment and they clear what's happening in the body. So they like keep it clear so that it keeps you free of negative energies or illnesses or stuff like that. And you spinning in a vibrant way. But if they're like all glumpy, and then the energy in and around those areas gets very dank, moldy, dusty, if you will. I'm just trying to think of words that can describe that.
Well, you think about in a bathroom, we all have like ventilators in our bathroom, right? And if the ventilator is working, then the bathrooms, it's harder for the bathroom to collect like mold, right? But if the ventilator is not working, no matter how hard you try, you're going to have mold in your bathroom, you know? And so it's like that fan. And can I share screen, Shanti? I guess I'm co-host, I can.
Yeah, you should, because you co-host, you should be able to.
Okay, I'm just going to pull up just so people have a visual here, because I like having visuals. And we'll talk about the hands later. But you see how the body, this is what she's talking about. And it runs from the base, it's all the way up to, and I always tell my students as well that, you know, the arms and the legs are beautiful, beautiful things. They're the extension of this. However, you can cut your arms and your legs off and still survive and live life. It wouldn't be very fun, but you can, everything that's juicy and important is from the perineum, from the base of your torso, your crotch, all the way up to the top of your head. This is where a lot of the information of yourself lies. And that whole spine, if we think about the spinal too, like the flower, you know, I tell my students, we talk about Sushumna a lot. So within the body, if we're looking at these 7 points, these like big fans, these big flowery fans pumping energy through the body has like 75,000 what we call nadis. Now, I tell my students all the time, don't go to your doctor and say your nadis are broken. They will admit you to an insane asylum. This is energetic body. All right. I think my
unless you're going to an Ayurvedic doctor in India, he'll understand.
He'll understand. Yes. And so what we say, we focus really on a lot of yogas. 75,000 is a lot. So we focus on really 3. The main one we focus on is called Sushumna. And this is that portal of energy that runs up the spine. Now, again, it's not really in your spine. It's more of an energetic portal that goes up the body. And this is where the base of this Muladhara and Mulabandha, it's like closing it. The bandha is like closing that straw. And I think a lot of people will lose energy to Muladhara because they don't know to hold the power of Mulabandha, being able to pull it in and hold that power. And so that, if you think about that straw and it comes all the way up the spine, and that's where Kundalini also is at the base. It rests in the Muladhara area, and Kundalini is one. I think Shanti, we've talked about that. Kundalini a lot has been misrepresented, and people think it's evil and it's bad. It's the Christ consciousness, is what it is.
Exactly, it's exactly what it is, and it rests in your root chakra in Muladhara, and when you are ready for transformation. Because that's what it does. Kundalini fires the codes, or your body fires the codes, and Kundalini awakens and then twirls up your spine, reawakening the Christ awareness, reawakening the nerve endings in your body, the cells within the body, the neurotransmitters within the brain, the neurons within the brain, and suddenly it's like you've just woken up. And that is what the Kundalini energy gives you. And that is, again, why we've been told, and you know, all of this information is sitting in many of the missing books of the Bible, but they didn't tell her, you know, they didn't keep it away from us to protect us. It was to protect them and their nefarious purposes and reasons for doing so. So, you know, and when we understand how the body works, now, for example, let's look at the root chakra. As I was saying, the roots go down and it grounds you and it anchors you. Okay. So it makes you feel connected to your family. It's all about connection to your family. The developmental age there is 0 to 8 years old in a child's life. So think about when a child is between the age of 0 to 8, completely dependent on its parents, completely dependent on society, on schooling. That's when you start going to your schools, your churches, or whatever. So that's when you form your little family unit. And the family unit is very important for this chakra, because without that stability, that security within the family unit, that's when later on in life, as you climb the ladder, right, you have all sorts of issues because the base is not secure and the base is not connected. So, and the body parts relating to that would be your skeletal system, the bones in your body, the skin. Okay, your skin is root chakra. Your lower back is root chakra. And the male genitalia is root chakra. The female genitalia is Svadhisthana, the one just above that. So any issues around that, and all of us have them, you got to know it's coming from an imbalanced root chakra. It's, you know, it's like, think about, and it's how comfortable do you feel in your skin, like allergies, skin allergies, all these things are related to that. So when you are connected, like feeling good, connected to yourself, connected to your creator, connected to your family, connected to your friends, you are ready to act. Yeah. So it's the chakra of action as well. You're ready to go out into the world, express yourself, experience what it is. You have that feeling of ready, steady. I'm so ready to go. You know, it's that feeling of being alive, being vibrant. Obviously, on the other hand, as well, the polar opposite of that is always being tired, not having any energy, being fearful of what the whole world out there holds, being a recluse, being hermetic. Being a hermit is often the chakra as well, not just this one. You're going to see as we go along. All of them.
What did they try to do to us for like 2 years?
Yeah.
They try to keep us, and that's, y'all, they know what they're doing. I mean, knowledge is power, and they know this stuff and they know it. And yeah, the root, like I was saying, the root chakra, it was something that I really have worked on a lot in my life, because I realized right away, there's something imbalanced here. And I think a lot of people have that. And when you start to see it, you can't unsee it. And it's the great I am. I just pulled that in a Sanskrit, that is ahung. That's a mantra of ahung, which is I am. Ahung, and the root chakra for men is their genitalia. Ahung, LOL. I kind of laugh at that. That's where my mind goes. But that is that. If you want a Sanskrit mantra,
yes.
When you say that, I was like, oh, and in Sanskrit, that's ahung. LOL. Like I'm a 12-year-old. The older my body gets, the younger my mind gets.
It's beautiful.
But that's the Sanskrit for I am. The mantra I am. Ahung.
Yeah.
Ahung.
Yeah.
And so you can even do that mantra to start to I am. And it's funny, Shanti, I quote you a lot when I work with people and students now, about the projections and our own work we're doing. And when you whittle back fears, they say every fear we have comes to the fear of death. However, I say every fear, you can even go back further than that, because the soul isn't afraid of death, really. It's the fear of not being enough. It's always comes back to that fear of not being enough. And where does that come from, guys? Back to the basics.
Yes, exactly. And you know what I want to say as well? This, according to Shanti, is the chakra of karma. Because when we come into a family, now remember, I believe that we have a sacred contract with God or source before we come here to live the life that we choose to live. We have a sacred contract with everyone. We choose our parents, they choose us. We choose our siblings, they choose us. And of course, when we're born in little fetuses, you don't choose when you're in a fetal stage. You choose from the wisdom of your spirit before you became that fetus, right? So you are now in this place of being a baby and seemingly helpless, okay? And yes, as a baby and a child, you are helpless. That's what I'm saying. You depend on your parents and you depend on your family. You depend on them to feed you, to clothe you, to put you to school and educate you and whatever else, that sort of stuff. But when someone has a negative experience in the formative years of their lives, and I know I'm going to take a bullet from a few people, yeah, but hey, it goes through me, it doesn't go into me, just so you all know.
Fine.
It's choices you've made karmically. So before you've come here, you've chosen that experience. And very often, and as we go up the chakras as well, you're going to see how, what we were talking about in one of our previous chats was the tricky trio. The group I'm working with right now, we've also just finished the week where they've gone through the tricky trio, which is guilt, shame, and humiliation. And very often you're going to find that these emotions are related to the root chakra.
Yep.
And when you have issues like that as a child in your life, being abused or violated in any way, that is going to turn out to be your greatest power when you connect with the essence of those experiences. Because as an alchemist, I will tell you, when the lead becomes gold, wow, that moment that it turns, wow, it is just beautiful. Clarity sets in, understanding sets in, and you just go, oh my gosh, why did I not see that before? Well, the reason you didn't see it before is because you weren't meant to see it before. Everything happens at the perfect time and in the perfect moment, right?
And I know what you're saying, that you're going to, I know, because we do get bullets and arrows for saying stuff like you picked this, but I want to express that there is power in liberation when you sit back and go, I agreed to this. I did this for my highest good, for me to learn something. And that is very, very, very powerful. When you can take that and say, I did this. I am not the victim in this. I picked this. And that is extremely, extremely powerful. And that again, that taking that power back goes again back to that root chakra, that root area. But there's so much that we experience. I don't know one person in this world that I've met that sits there and says, yes, my childhood was perfect. Everybody has something happen to them in their childhood that destabilizes that root chakra. Everybody. And the problem is, I think what a lot of people tend to do, even in all sorts of healing, not just like spiritual healing, but even in third matrix healing, is they do escapism. They try to escape instead of actually settling into it. And when you can settle into that is when you also build that power back up, because you're actually allowing yourself to experience the opportunity that you gave yourself before you, if that makes sense. If you see all these, and I'll probably take crap for this too, but if you, all these like bad things that possibly happen to you in your life, see them as opportunities that you gave yourself.
Absolutely.
And then that's your power move. That's the plot twist.
Absolutely. You see, and that is exactly what you say. It's the plot twist, because the minute that plot then twists, we then move into the second chakra. And the second chakra would be Svadhisthana, or the sacral chakra. And that is where that's the feminine element. That's where we hold our creativity, our healing abilities, our sensitivity, the emotions, although the emotions are very much in the heart as well, but very much in the sacral chakra. And the color for that is orange.
Yes.
So and the element for that is water. The first chakra, the element is earth. Second chakra, there we go, Svadhisthana. And that
which makes sense because that's the womb, and the womb is the water.
Yeah, totally. And that's where we create.
Darkness. Yeah,
yeah.
That's where, and that's where
it's the
so
water
many women.
Sorry, carry on, baby.
I'll say so many women, especially if you grew up in a culture like mine, which I think a lot of cultures, women are not supposed to be sexual until they're married. And so there's a lot of shame in this area of the womb. There's a lot of womb trauma that women carry. And of course, it connects right to that Muladhara as well. And so I'm going to stand up. So this whole area of the body, the lower pelvis region for women, a lot of times it's hard. I remember a teacher telling me, a yoga teacher once, like how hard it is to get women to really bring their internal attention to this area of their body, because there's so much blockage there. There's so much shame that they've been trained not to go to. And so,
but BRICE, isn't it interesting sorry to chime in there, but it's just really in line with what you're saying. Isn't it interesting that the most cancers that women carry are either breast cancer or cervical or something to do with the womb, something to do with the feminine parts? I mean, how many women have hysterectomies prematurely, fibroids, cysts, whatever the case might be in there? It's very interesting. And that's why and it's a typical stronghold for shame and guilt. Exactly that, like mothers, how guilty, I mean, how much guilt do we as single mothers, I know for sure as a single mother, how much guilt I carried as a mother, because I wasn't good enough and I didn't do this enough and I wasn't that enough. And the guilt that comes from that. And let me tell you, every time you feel guilt, it's the guilt. Wow. Guilt is the most potent emotion in the fear-based camp, because as long as you have guilt, there's a sense of non-deservability, which translates into lack of abundance.
Yeah.
So, and let me tell you, my child, oh boy, he could tap into my guilt like that. No one could twist me around their little finger the way he could until maybe 2 or 3 years ago.
Oh, and yeah.
Oh yeah, and he's in his mid-30s now. And I just said to him the one day, I'm not fixing our relationship with money anymore, because I felt that, and obviously as a single mom, and I wasn't supported by his father at all, whether it was financially, mentally, emotionally, whatever, absolutely not. So I had my own business. I was working to make sure that he was provided for and that I could live a life that was good for him. But at the same time, it meant that I wasn't there.
Yeah.
Nearly as much as what I should have been. Oh boy, and did he hold that against me?
Yeah.
And so for me, it was such a battle to balance that whole masculine, the root chakra, and feminine, the sacral chakra. And it's only been in recent years, I can tell you, that for me has started sorting itself out. But I know there's many women today, you're living in a very different culture to what I did in my culture, in my time, not so much culture, but when I was a single mom, it was not nearly as fashionable or as accepted as what it is now. It was still, well, why didn't you make it work? Why couldn't you stay and stick through the marriage? And oh my gosh, just the idea that is enough to make me die a million times over. But it was a choice I made. But really, that's what I'm saying. And then cancer is an emotional disease, right? We have to understand that as well. We give ourselves our illnesses. That's another thing, please. And I know I'm probably going to get shot again, but it goes through me, not into me.
Yeah. The truth will set you free. So, well, I think about too, like ideal, and I'm a victim of I can't say, I know we can't say it on YouTube, but people doing things to you against your will. I'm a victim of that as well. A lot of women are. And it's interesting when I work with students a lot, women will tend to like clench. They'll clench their whether they're doing it or not, they'll clench their legs together. And that's that first and second, there's a wound there that they're trying to like, or they'll have an emotional release in a posture like Upavishta Konasana, which is your legs spread apart, folding forward. All of a sudden they'll have this like emotional release, pulling that open to see what's going on. And I know I grew down here in the deep South, a lot of the like evangelical, more fundamentalist flavors of Christianity, if you will, especially in the 80s and 90s when I was growing up, got into this like purity culture. And purity culture is one of the most toxic, awful cultures that ever came out of our modern age. And I have a feeling the Lucy group, I like how you call them the Lucy's, the Lucy group was probably behind that because it's all based in shame. And it's all based on shame on women or young girls, teenagers. And they always use in church groups, they would use the same metaphor where they talked about a piece of chewing gum. That if you let somebody chew your gum up and then you had to give it to your husband when they all chewed up, what would he think? Basically comparing you to a piece of gum, and that you need to be pure for your husband. And the same pressure was not put on boys as it was put on girls. And
no, they could go everywhere and do anything and be the man about town.
Yeah, but for women, and then all of a sudden it was like, so you're shamed your whole teenage years, you grow up in that, and then all of a sudden, let's say you do stay a virgin until the day you get married. Then all of a sudden you're supposed to now like sex, but you've been told to fear it for most of your life. And just overnight, you're supposed to now trust this man. It's so screwed up. And I think if a lot of people like just sit with that for a minute, because so many cultures have that, especially with women, if you just sit with that for a minute and start to connect the dots of why maybe, women don't like, are not as like apt to talk about these things, or, like what, and then that starts to heal it. It starts to heal
Absolutely.
it.
I love that. And it's so true because, whether you yourself have had some kind of abuse or violation in any way, maybe you haven't, and you're one of those who are fortunate enough not to have had anything like that. But it could well be part of your family lineage. It could be in your ancestral bloodline. It could be your friend who's had it or whatever. But, you're going to find a lot of women, and that's why I have sexual issues. Why do you think it's a well-known fact that many women have problems orgasming? And the reason for that is not necessarily because the men are shitty lovers. Maybe some of them are, but because a woman needs to trust. She needs to trust. And it's all about these feelings, and she needs to trust the person she's with. But mostly she needs to trust herself. You see, trust is always about you. But we learn this as we go along, So when you're trusting yourself to know that I've made the right choice here, or you're trusting yourself to know that this is a temporary relationship and I'm going to enjoy it anyway, let the guilt go, whatever the case might be, But this whole thing that women have got to sit there with their legs together and not, it's all wonderful. Maybe for a man, it is wonderful to know that his wife is pure and what have you. But what does that mean to you as a man? You've got to be so super gentle with that woman. You've got to be so caring. You've got to make sure that you are the perfect knight in shining armor for her. If that's what you want for yourself out of a wife or a woman, what do you bring into the table for her? And you see, that's never really been part of the equation, has it?
No.
It's always just,
In talking about that, the pain for women, it's physically, when that first chapter of your life opens, there is physical pain in that area when that starts to happen. There is blood involved. It is not pleasant for a while. And so you think about even the trauma of that. And so having that partner that can understand that and help women through that is amazing. But it's true. A lot of times it involves, there's this idea of allowing yourself to completely let go. And I don't know if that's something I could, when you start to think about that, but then you do have to trust yourself, there is that. This stuff gets so deep if you really start to dig through it. But once you start healing, it's powerful. It's super powerful, you know, and that pulling up. And you think about like in the act of, we'll just say making a baby, there's like a pulling up. And that comes into the second bandha that works with the first three, which is Uddiyana bandha, which is the lock like Mula bandha, which is that pulling up, that rising up. So what is it doing? It's helping pull, like a suction cup, pull the energy up from these chakras up that Sushumna. So the Mula bandha is locking that pulling up. And you can feel this. You can feel this in your body. If you start to do different exercises around this, you can actually feel that sensation. And believe it or not, the bandhas are actually associated with the breath, not necessarily, it's the breathing of which comes through the two nostrils, which is the other two nadis that we focus on. So it's very powerful. It's so powerful.
And as you've always said, you know, I always say your breath is the fuel for your body. So when you're working with your breath, and you will see how, as what you're saying now, it draws things up, because everything's in an upward movement, right? So we're going upwards. And that's really, you know, and that's really what, so the body parts relating to the second chakra would be the reproductive system in both male and female, the female genitalia, as well as the testes in the male, as well as the
hung. No, just kidding.
You're hung.
You're hung.
And then the liquids in the body, the liquids and the fluids in the body. So your blood, your saliva, you know, everything that is liquidy or fluidy in the body is all relating to the chakra. And, you know, one thing that and it's your creativity, you know, it's part of the chakra also relates to creativity. Again, how many of us have been taught that being creative is a waste of time? You got to work, and you got to do, and you got to work, and you got to go. What a bunch of baloney. This is the area as well where we work with our creativity. You know, when we are not being creative, it's like cutting off a limb. Sure, you can operate without it, but it's just more functional having that. Oh, nice.
Sorry,
nice.
I just pulled it. I was like, I found a picture. Yeah, it is your creative. Like that is. Nice. So this is an old picture of me. I'm not going to do it on live camera, but do you do the Kriyas? Shanti, do you ever do Uddiyana Bandha Kriya? So this is Uddiyana Bandha Kriya, and you pull. Those are my ribs. You literally, it's like pulling up. You exhale on no breath, and you suck your stomach in as much as you can, and you feel all of the organs pulling up.
Drawn in.
And it happens in your throat too, which is another bandha. But so just to give you guys a visual of what that is, that pulling up sensation. And I always laugh because in most kids, you probably had that weird kid. Maybe you were that weird kid in your school that could like hollow out his belly and look like he was emaciated, and you laugh at him. He was doing Uddiyana Bandha Kriya. That was what he was doing. And everybody can do this. It's that pulling up into the ribs of the organs, and you feel it in the base of the perineum pulling up as well. And it's so funny because as we were talking about the creativity, I was thinking about from the Gospel of Mary, that's a big concept, is in order to ascend, you have to descend first. You have to go down to the root to then pull up to the ascension.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's I love that pic. That's a very cool pic. And it looks so weird because when you release then your whole belly hangs.
Yeah.
Everything hangs. It's the weirdest looking thing. And it's not like it's expanded, you know.
It just relaxes. Yeah. Only do and I will say Uddiyana Bandha Kriya, if now as a lady from the South, I don't do this. Wink, wink. But if you are someone that struggles with digestion issues, like going to the bathroom in the morning, if you learn Uddiyana Bandha Kriya, that helps get the colon moving as well. So just a little heads up. But yeah, that's something that can help as well. Very natural way to just get the body moving. It's pretty intense. And that's just that's what I love about the bandhas though, because with the chakra system, the way we feel them is we feel them with our emotions about what's happening. But with the bandhas, when we marry them with the chakras, it gives us kind of a roadmap as to where this, and you helped me a lot, Shanti, with the next one, which is the solar plexus, the sun, the helios of the body, which is right there. Yeah.
Manipura. Manipura. Yeah, I love that. So I'm seeing that I'm really running low on laptop time. Yeah.
So do you
So
want
I
to?
think what we should do that. We definitely have time. I still, or not time, but space to do the. Should we do the one more?
It's up to you. It's up
Manipura?
to you if you want to cut it there, and then next week do the. Okay, let's talk about Manipura.
No, we can do Manipura. That's amazing one. So so then moving up. So when we understand that, and you see now suddenly we start flowing. Isn't that just so interesting that we can now start flowing? And I was saying about the creativity. You have to be creative, because without being creative, whether it's writing, whether it's singing, whether it's drawing or painting, whatever is creative for you, because that gets your everything flowing again. So you have to be creative. What my creativity, I love, I create my workshops, I create my stuff, but I love to color in mandalas. So when I'm feeling like I need a boost, for me, that's mandala. I'll sit for an hour, get my crayons and my glitzy pens and what have you, my mandala book, some beautiful music, my cup of tea, and I just color. And that to me is incredible, to be able to do it like that. Get your creativity moving, that sort of stuff. Very, very, very important for Svadhisthana, which is the second chakra. Then of course now when that is moving and flowing, and now we flowing again, we're not just, now we're moving into Manipura, which is the sun. Now you see that's the masculine. That's the first one is the feminine, or the Svadhisthana is feminine. Now we're moving into Manipura, which is the sun. And I always say now we can like water the sun. So now we can cool the sun down with our water when we need to, and just imagine the rays being all watery and floaty. And we can melt away the ice blocks within us, because when water freezes over, it becomes ice, right? And that's also no good. So we can then temper our body's temperature in that way. But that, of course, is your center of personal power. So you're often going to find dictators, like we're currently experiencing all over the show, have a very, very major problem with Manipura, because that's all, and it's greed, it's personal power, it's greed, it's fear of not having. All of those nasty emotions sit right there. And of course, but when you operating from a healthy solar plexus, then you become solution orientated. You can talk about stuff. You don't mind others having the limelight, and you can step back. And when it's your turn to step into the limelight, then you take it. But you allow the same for others. You understand, you understand the power that exists within each and every one of us. And everyone needs their time to shine.
And you can see too with the third chakra, how if the base chakra isn't balanced, third chakra is not going to really, you can kind of see how their feet, I hope the audience can see that, like they all can stand on their own, but they all need each other too. And and it's interesting because in the yoga practice, and this is going to be for the third and fourth, which we'll get to the fourth chakra next time, but I really struggle with backbending. That's something I've always struggled with. I'm very emotional. I'm pretty flexible when it comes to I'm pretty strong. I'm pretty athletic, but I smacked a teacher once coming out of a backbend, only time I've ever punched anyone. That's a story for another day, but I'm sure Shanti understands that. But when somebody said to me once, do you understand that backbending is not about your back? It's about your front body. That's when everything, and it's just solar plexus as well. Because you guys in Ashtanga yoga, we have to catch our ankles. It's not just a cute little back bend. It's like an exorcism. It's like stuff you see in the movies of an exorcism. They're pulling your hands in. And so you feel it. When that happens, you actually feel the third chakra opening. It's the fourth one as well, but you actually feel the third one too, doing this open. And so many people I know in the Ashtanga world get very nauseated. Then they'll have to run to the bathroom. It's like all of a sudden when there was that actual action and force put on to that one area of the body to force it to open, which it hardly ever gets to open because we don't live a life where that can happen, stuff will release. And that's when I always tell people from a vanity perspective, if you want a 6-pack, don't do crunches, do back bends, because that's what's pulling that strength together. And that's the physical body is a representation of the internal body. And a lot of times you can kind of use it as a roadmap. So yeah, that's a very powerful, that Helios, that sun, it's the sun. They're telling you, this is your solar plexus. It's your sun.
It's where the sun, and again, think about the reverse side of the sun is hell. So you will burn, you will destroy, you will, it's a destructive power, but it's also very, very powerfully transformative. There's no greater transformational power than fire, you know? So, and I love what you're saying there, really about, because it's, and again, think about when you were doing those back bends and your Manipura popped open. That's again how we hide away from our personal power, because we've been taught we shouldn't say this, and we've been taught we can't that, and we need to be this, and what have you. So we contain ourselves so much. Exactly. And then we go into that fear of not having. So fear of not having creates greed on a massive scale. So again, that whole, I'm not good enough, I'm not enough, not enough, that is sitting all in here. So then when we start to understand how there is enough for everyone, I am enough, I always have been, and I always will be, I'm born to shine. That understanding radiates our light. So you don't have to do anything to radiate your light. You just got to come to understandings about yourself, and then your light starts radiating of itself.
You are the light. You are the light. You are.
You are your own guru. What is your own guru? Your guru, a guru is really the light master, so to speak. We seek to
dark to light,
No, I don't sit no guru's feet. I sit at the feet, as you can see, of my own life. You sit at the feet of your own life. And although absolutely in Buddhism, there's a lot of thing about, sitting at the feet of the master. And I fully respect that. And I understand that. It's really respecting the path that they've walked. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but what I'm saying with that
is, that's
all
they are. Viewers are just master teachers. Yeah. But you're the one that has to do the work.
But you are your own guru.
Yeah.
So when you sit with yourself in meditation and in prayer, and you really just let the layers go around you and dissolve, you will know what you know, beyond a shadow of doubt. And again, there, the body part, a big one there is the liver. So think about diabetes as well. Diabetes is coming from solar plexus. It is the inability to absorb the sweetness in life. The sweetness.
What I was thinking too, it's funny because I know a lot of people who get really heavy into heavy exercises will suffer like hernias in that area sometimes. And it's that overexertion, I have to overcompensate. And so, yeah.
Absolutely. It's very interesting. So when we start relaxing and when we start enjoying, so now just think of these 3 chakras so far that we've worked with: Muladhara, Svadhisthana, Manipura. So just to feel rooted and connected, to start being creative and start flowing and start realizing that I don't need to feel ashamed and guilt and what have you, and that I am my own guru, I am my own light, I have everything I need is within me. So just to start thinking around those topics at the moment is what you need to do. Don't try and fix it and what have you. Yes, I mean, if you're drinking 2 liters of Coke a day, it might be a good thing to start drinking 2 liters of water a day instead, replace it. So you want to start being conscious, about replacing bad habits with good habits and just being conscious. Google is out there. That's one thing Google is very good for. They come with a lot of knowledge, and there's a lot of people, very knowledgeable people, who actually have a lot of fantastic information.
And I would say
That
too,
is,
for people, yeah, just go back. If you're watching this right now and you want to start, and this is new to you and you want to figure this out, again, start working with your feet too. Start thinking about those channels of energy coming up through the soles of your feet, through your toes. Reflexology is a real thing. I tell my
oh yeah,
students all the time, and we're going to get into the heart next week, but when we take certain folds and we catch the feet, only on Instagram do the hands hit the floor to make it look pretty. In a real practice, you're locking into the upper part of the feet to connect to that respiratory system. The feet are so powerful, guys. And for us in the West, what do we, I mean, I like a good high heel. I'll admit it. I like a good high heel, but most of the day I'm barefoot and I'm stretching my toes and I'm moving my ankle. And pay attention when you walk. Does your big toe actually touch the earth? Can you actually visualize? If you can't feel it for now, if that's not something you can feel, can you visualize that energy coming all the way up from the big toe up through the calf, which is the second heart, all the way up through the inner thigh? That inner thigh is very juicy. There's a lot of health stuff in the inner thigh that's not super fun, into the perineum. Especially for women, is that an area of your body that you even think about, or have you been taught to kind of ignore it? Why not start thinking about it? It's part of your body. God made it. It's powerful.
exactly. And I think, when we start, and this is what I also believe when Jesus said, know thyself. This is what we have to know about ourselves. We have the power to be our own healer. That's what Jesus was saying. Jesus, the ultimate healer. And you can heal yourself by looking at what's happening in your body. Inside of you is so much pain and suffering and negative stuff that holds you back. You don't need to be sitting with that stuff, and by looking into the chakras and understanding, the chakras kind of compartmentalize it, if you want to look at it that way. And then you can start understanding it in bite-sized chunks, how to do it differently. If now suddenly, you understand that I've had liver issues for the last 5 years, or diabetes, stuff like that, this is all relating to that. So understand that it's got to do with my personal power and feeling disempowered and angry and jealous and all of these things, because that's there. And that's, every area in which you feel disempowered as well is an opportunity for you to become empowered in that area and to find solutions, to become solution orientated in all these areas. But I hate to say we need to go.
No, your computer is going to rapture you soon. So, but I'm going to put it out there. If anybody has any questions about as we go through this, I think we're going to be talking about this a lot, Shanti, because there's so much. As we're talking, I'm even thinking about more to offshoots to go through with the chakras, because it's just so. And this is one thing I've always said about exercise. When I try to tell people, exercise is not about punishing yourself, it's about discovering yourself. And part of that is these energy cycles. Part of that is learning how to move the pelvis and actually feel it, move your hips and feel how the energy moves. And that's when you start to understand how beautifully made you are, and how you understanding your power is their greatest fear.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
you're a badass.
You are created in the image of God. Don't ever forget that. God has made us so beautiful and so perfect, each and every one of us. God must have spent a lot of time contemplating what the perfect human would look like, and came up with this form and shape, and the visible as well as the invisible, the physical as well as the metaphysical. So it's a beautiful journey, and I would just want to say to each and every one of you, enjoy it. And yoga is such a powerful tool, because yoga is a spiritual practice. So, to start doing some yoga and just feel what we're talking about. Because you're not going to know, wow, the power of stretching and bending and twisting and releasing all of these things out of your body. Yeah.
And we focus a lot on strength with Ashtanga, and there's something, you can never be too strong in Ashtanga yoga. And there's something very, very powerful when you start to get physically strong and your muscles start to actually move properly. There's information in your muscles too that's sitting there. And when that blood gets in there and starts to move it, you feel all of a sudden things that felt impossible to you all of a sudden become possible. And not just in the physical as well. Healing becomes possible. Overcoming becomes possible. There's such a shift that happens. And so enjoy your body, because your body is it's your Shakti. It's the expression of your soul. Use it.
It totally is. Absolutely. And your body is absolutely, it's the manifestation of your spirit. It's your spirit in physical form. So there is no separation. So just enjoy it. But yay, Bryce, thank you so much for being here. We will see you. Well, I think we should maybe make it a week rather than 2 weeks.
Okay, let's do it a week. We'll start with Anahata next week.
Anahata.
That's gonna be a big one. A lot of people got some wounds in that Anahata. So
yeah, oh yeah. And
they all are big ones, but yeah. Cool. Let's do it next week then.
We do it next week, same time, right?
Same time, same place. And I will say too, there's a great book called Eastern Body, Western Mind. That also, if you guys are looking, if you want more like of your own personal study, but it goes into this as well. She dedicates a chapter to each one, and she goes through the Sanskrit and all that kind of stuff. So if that's something that our viewers, if you want more homework to do, I would definitely recommend Eastern Body, Western Mind to each and every one of you.
We're going to have to make it a little bit later next week, but I'll chat to you off air about the time on that. So,
I'm open all Wednesday, next Wednesday at this point. So yeah, just let me know what works for you. So
indeed. Thank you guys. Love you lots.
Bye.
And if you haven't already, please give us a like, a share, and a subscribe. We are on Solutions now, Solutions with Aquarius Rising Africa, and you can find us on Telegram and on Facebook. Mwah. God bless you all. Take good care. And we will see you very, very soon.